It's Central Valley Business. I'm your host, Steve Walling. My guest for this segment is Pete Robles with Certified Forklift Training Center.
Yes.
What do we got to train our forklifts for?
Actually, we have to train those operators to be safe.
Okay. You see a lot of them around. Tell me about this.
Well, actually, there's a lot of people out there that are driving. Whether they were ever trained or not, that's another thing entirely different. It is mandated by the state of California and the federal government.
Is it really?
Yes, they are required to be certified.
Well, now, there's some of those people out there I need to talk to because I do know what you're talking about. It's nice that they got these little belts, which they didn't used to have, to let you know that they're backing up or whatever, but, a lot of those people, they're just plain dangerous out there, Pete.
Exactly. That's and I really, to be perfectly honest, I believe a lot of the people that drive those forklifts aren't aware of the penalties involved with if they're caught driving.
Really? There's a lot of penalties?
Absolutely. It's a very, very stiff financial penalty that, driving a forklift without certification, you're standing at a $25,000 fine.
Really?
Absolutely.
So it's important that, particularly like if I'm an employer, and I have several of these particular pieces of equipment on my, in my thing, and I've got, I just don't take the local high school kid and say, here, grab that 40 tons over here, lift it up, 15 feet, carry it around, do a couple twists and turns, and see what happens. They got to be trained, they got to be certified. Otherwise, as an employer, I'm on the line. But what people get injured by, people that aren't properly trained.
People on an average diet, there are about 125 deaths per year,
really,
nationwide, and that's on forklifts.
Whoa.
People seem to think that it's so safe, and really the reality is it's not all that safe.
I have a question for you, Pete.
Sure.
I know that forklifts now they've got little cages. You come in, you sit down, but what about those small ones that you see people that are more like they're often electric and stuff, but they still, they lift. They got a pretty good lift. Is that certification required for those also?
You have to be certified to operate even a powered pallet jack.
Really?
Yes, as well as the forklift, and it's the same course.
Okay.
Literally, but there are tests that you have to pass, both written and now there's also a driving. So we definitely try to scrutinize and get these people, take those that do have a gift.
How long have you been in business, Pete?
19 years.
Well, you got a week or two under your belt.
Just a tad.
Yes.
Yes. We're getting ready to celebrate our 19th year of anniversary of this September 9th.
So you know a little bit about what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
What is the most challenging thing in teaching a person that wants to be a forklift driver? What seems to be the thing that maybe they're the least conscious of or whatever that may be very important to them?
I think that possibly when you're raising a lift with product on it, people, it's hard to describe that feeling to anybody except to say that when you're lifting up product into the air and the forklift starts to move a little bit, and there's that you're looking at their hands, and their hands just shaking as they're bringing it up, and it's intense.
Yeah.
But they've got to realize and develop a confidence for it. So that's what the training is all about.
Okay.
It's what we do there is we actually give them the opportunity to drive the equipment long before they're ever going to put anything in a rack of any kind, and they're having to learn that they have to look backwards before they back up, and things of that nature.
Yeah.
That are thought of as to be, more or less common sense or anything like that. Common sense is not that common. We've come to find that out.
All right, I know what you mean. Where are you located at?
We are actually located, that's a good question. Where are we located at? But okay.
516 Villa.
That's correct. We're 516 Villa Avenue in the city of Clovis.
In Clovis.
That's correct.
Okay. And if I am a potential forklift or even a powered pallet jack operator, how do I find you? Besides going to the location, you guys have a web page, you got a Facebook page?
We do have a web page out there, and we do extensive advertising to different magazines, newspapers of that nature. We try to get out to the people
You're in the phone book.
We are in the phone book, and so we are easily found. Actually, there's, to the best of my knowledge, I believe there's only one other company that certifies and trains people out here in the valley.
Now,
And
what is it when you say certifies people? What hoops do you have to jump through in order to be a company that can certify someone to do this kind of work?
Well, I was trained by OSHA, actually.
Okay.
I took my training through OSHA when I started my business.
Right.
And they pretty much set the standard, okay? And that's what the OSHA training is all about. And they teach you what is acceptable, what isn't, etc. And then what I did was merely take what their standard was and implement that into our program, and so it really could gel properly.
Right.
Every student in our program gets a book. I know this sounds crazy, but people think that books are old
Old school, yeah.
Old school, that type of
I'm
thing.
old enough to know about old school.
Well, a lot of people think that, the computer is the answer, and the reality is that it's not. The book is there, and we have the book actually is a combination of just general information and the OSHA regulations, which each and every operator is required
To know.
to know exactly. And what we did, we also settled that with a plain English translation of the OSHA regulation.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, yeah, which takes it out of government-ese, and, so that us normal folks can read it and understand what they're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's precisely what we do, is we want to make it very clear to the individual what is expected of them.
Right. How long is this program?
The program itself, OSHA only requires 8 hours of instruction, formal instruction, in order to be certified. What we've done, essentially, having done this for so many years, we found out that there better way that we found of dealing with it is to break it into 2 classes, 2 days consecutive of 4 hours each, and the first day is in the classroom, the second learning the regulations.
Right.
The second day is on the driving range. But in order to get to the driving range, you have to pass the written test of the classroom, which is the regulations.
Okay, so you learn the regulations, you learn the written part that you got to know, but you can't get into the driver's seat until you prove that you've learned what it is that you got to know.
Exactly.
Through a test.
There is a test.
Cool. And all right, now what about, is there a driving test?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
And the operators or potential operators are they're given the time to familiarize themselves with the forklift, what learning all the bells and whistles are for, and when they feel a certain degree of confidence now, okay, they're no longer that fear of the unknown. We put them through an obstacle course, which they must maneuver through both backwards and forwards to the satisfaction of the instructor. Okay, so there is we're looking at everything that we can possibly do. We don't want to put them in harm's way without being prepared.
Yeah, and that again, I've seen some real solid, pallets and stuff up pretty high on some of these things. But if you know what you're doing, you can move this stuff around.
Exactly.
If you don't know what you're doing, you can hurt a lot of people.
You're placing everybody in jeopardy simply because of your inability to read a book.
I do have a question. Besides working a lift, do you have the smaller lifts that they operate too? So
There are so many different types of lifts, it's unbelievable. Actually, and not to mention the fact that some lifts the newer lifts come with attachments.
Really?
Yes, to where it started out being a forklift, but now it's going to be a squeeze fork, or it's going to be a clamp, or a push-pull, or it can be a number of items.
And you got that stuff there for them to...
We haven't got that stuff. Therefore, that would be, be a pretty sizable organization to put that out. But we make them aware of the fact that such equipment does exist.
All right.
Okay.
Well, that's a heck of a deal, Pete.
Well, we've been at it for quite some time, and a lot of times what happens is that there are people out there that are not certified to drive. They're working for a mom and pop company.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the mom and pop companies that are out there, they're afraid of the expense.
Right.
Okay. They have no idea of the fines.
The expense
if they
Yeah.
are caught operating.
There's expense, and then
Oh.
there's expense.
Exactly. You
All
know,
right.
OSHA has a tendency to be really heavy on people who are in jeopardy. Okay.
All right, sounds like a deal. If you're an employer, or if you're someone that's thinking about, I could come out and get certified before I even apply for jobs, and it's a revenue, a resume enhancement, before I go to some of these places.
Actually, most companies they're all familiar. Everybody's familiar with the fact that it is now mandated, both federal and state. So, in many cases, if you're applying for a forklift position, you will not be even given an application unless you can prove that you are certified.
There you go.
And then the certification doesn't just stop with once. It's like the normal driver's license. You have to renew it every 2 or 3
do you?
years. The maximum certification is only 3 years.
Oh,
length.
see, I learned something new, too.
So you've got to come back and do it again, and the test is not going to be the same.
Uh-huh.
Because at that point, you've been driving for 3 years. You're going to have a little experience.
We
So
expect, that you...
we expect that you're going to know more than you did when you first
There
started.
you go.
And that's what we're hoping for anyway.
All right. Well, Pete,
It's been a pleasure.
it's been great. Thank you for being on the show. Certified Forklift Training Center.
That's correct.
We got it.
We'll see you when we come back.